Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's Shelby VSG here, and I'm coming to you with my week 12 update. I will give you the disclaimer that I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, and I'm kind of a grumposaurus, so this might be kind of short and sweet. We'll see. I went to a class today and have some things to talk about there. Let's jump into the stats. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy with Dr. Aaron Baggs on May 19th, 2014 at Kaiser Northern California, Richmond. My high weight recorded on February 27th was 267.7 pounds. My weight the day of surgery on May 19th was 236.7 pounds. My weight last week was 198.6 pounds. And my weight this week, if I don't count the cat, was 194.7 pounds. That is a 3.9 pound loss since last week. It's 42 pounds lost since surgery, and it's 73 pounds lost since I started my preoperative nutrition on March 1st, 2014. So, wow, 3.9. That's pretty good. I'll take it, especially coming off of another high week last week. What am I doing differently? I stopped snacking. I tried. I mean, I still have like my popsicles, but that's for water and stuff. I don't think I've been snacking as much, with the exception of I went to a party and way overate. So yeah, I've been focusing on getting in my water, and I've been walking a lot. So that is something that I have to tell you guys about if you're not on my Facebook, which is 3 years ago, I think I registered for this beginning hiking class at the local community college, and we went on the first hike, and I was all excited because I had just recently had a procedure to correct a defect in my heart. No, it wasn't like major surgery or anything. And I was all excited because I was going to go out and start exercising. What better way, where I live in California, it's so gorgeous, than hiking. So I go on this hike, and about a quarter of the way through it, as we're trudging up this giant hill in the Marin Headlands, I realized this was a mistake. By the end of the hike, I was in tears. My feet were killing me. My knees were killing me. I got to the parking lot, and the only people left were myself, the instructor who was waiting. Actually, she had hiked back up to meet us, and this very lovely older woman who had stayed with me as I pissed and moaned my way back down this giant hill. So this weekend, I've always said that I was going to go back and conquer that hike, and this weekend I did it. I got up early on Saturday morning. I packed a couple things in my backpack. I grabbed my iPod, and I went out, and I did this hike, and I have to say I'm so crazy proud of myself for doing this. It was 7.3 miles, and it went up over 150 feet in elevation, and I did it in about 2.5 hours. And that's less time than the class had required us to be able to do it in. I didn't stop like for lunch or anything, and I was basically whistling on my way back down to the car. I didn't hurt. My feet didn't hurt. My knee didn't hurt, which is a big deal when you go down a lot like that. So with my knee pain, downhill was always worse than uphill. You'd think uphill was worse, but it's the weird balance. And I felt great. I was tired, but it was fantastic. I was so proud of myself. I want to go do it again. It was really cool. And my friend said, "Why didn't you call me? I would have done it with you." And honestly, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to make it. Like, I've been doing a lot of walking, but it hasn't been a lot of uphill. I've never been a good uphill person, but I killed that hike, and I'm really proud about that. So that's my big NSV for the week. And let's get into the rest of it, which I'm going to just go over the basics. I went to my 12-week appointment today, and it was with the case coordinator, the psychologist, and the nutritionist. The first part, we just kind of went over the common problems they hear people report. So constipation's a big one. My program just recommends everybody starting at week 2 start taking Benefiber every day. I have to say I do that, and I don't really have that problem. So I don't know. And then if you still have a problem, they say to drink Miralax. They mentioned people complain about unexplained bruising. That's something I've talked about. I've seen other people talk about it too. Basically, they said, and I haven't done any like further research on any of this, that it's your fat shrinks much faster than your capillaries have time to catch up, and they're right there on the surface, so they're a little bit more exposed, and that's why you're prone to more easily why you're prone to bruise more easily. Then they talked about pain, tailbone pain. Some people report, a lot of people, the further you get. Basically, they said if it's really bad, carry around one of those donuts or a pillow or whatever, but that you have to be careful always to protect your tailbone. So if you're doing like sit-ups and stuff, you should try and do it on like a pad or a pillow or something like that. They talked about what they call bra strap pain, which is not just for women, but it hits the part of your back right where your bra strap would normally fall. And they said that's really posture related. And so is if you've seen increased clumsiness, which I have, which you guys is horrible. I am so clumsy anyway. You add extra clumsiness in there. I can't even tell you. I seriously walked into my boss's office yesterday because he had left for the day, and I went in to go turn out his lights, and I hit the switch, and I turned around, and I walked into a wall. So, I mean, I don't know. Is that because of the surgery? Probably not. I probably would have done it anyway, but increased clumsiness I have seen. And they say that's also balance and posture related. So they recommend starting yoga, Pilates, sitting on a balance ball, riding a two-wheel bike, anything that requires your balance, even if it's standing on one foot when you're in line at the grocery store doing dishes or something like that. So that was that. And then they talked about, things, are we still not drinking while we're eating? That kind of thing. One thing I thought was interesting that they said, which is if you are sitting down to eat and you're used to not having, liquid with your meals, and you have that meal where all of a sudden you really feel like you need something to drink, it's because you ate too much, and you're wanting that need to wash it down. But nope, you're not supposed to do that. You just need to be more aware of what you're eating. They talked about, and this is something that's been hitting me really hard this week, although I have to double check my blood pressure because I've fallen off on checking it. They talked about positional dizziness. And what that is, it's different than vertigo. Vertigo is kind of all the time dizziness a little bit. Positional dizziness is particularly when you stand up or get out of bed, or you're leaning over and you stand up back up too quickly. Those kinds of things where all of a sudden you start to feel really lightheaded and kind of dizzy. Also included in that is if you're taking a hot shower, a hot bath, sitting in a jacuzzi, it's really hot outside. Those kind of things can also trigger the positional dizziness. And they did say that there's not really anything you can do other than be more aware and get up more slowly and that kind of thing. But that it goes away. They say by the 6-month appointment, a lot of people have reported that it's gotten way better, and by the year appointment, most people don't have it at all anymore. So that's good. It is annoying, and I tend to hop up from my chair really fast, so I have to stop doing that. But obviously, if you're on any kind of blood pressure medicine or anything like that, also talk with your doctor, because it could be a sign of low blood pressure. That's why I mentioned mine, because I am still taking my half a blood pressure tablet, but dizziness is the #1 sign he said to watch out for. So I need to be more diligent and actually check it. Then they talked about food, so and vitamins. And I am not happy about the vitamin conversation, and here is why. They've added more vitamins to our plan. And the reason being is they have updated their materials based on the most recent research that they have and on the sleeve. As a lot of people know, it's not been as around as long as the other kinds of surgery, and so there's less long-term. And things they've discovered is that vitamin deficiencies are real, and they're still not quite as common as with bypass, but they have decided for all weight loss surgery patients, regardless of which one you have, now you should be taking 2 multivitamins a day. That's something that RNY people already do. But sleevers have usually only had to take the 1. Now I have to take 2 multivitamins a day. Great, because I'm not having enough trouble remembering to take 1 horrible multivitamin a day. Thankfully, I can take the swallowable ones now if I want, but I have so many chewables, I just need to finish them. And then they talked about you still taking your calciums, 1,500 milligrams every day of calcium citrate. And then they talked about adding, which I did buy, if you need it, vitamin D3. There it is. So they said not everybody needs this, but if your levels come back lower or you talk to the nutritionist or your doctor, it might be something that you would want to add in. The reason I added it in immediately is because going into surgery I had a vitamin D deficiency. I had been on a very high dose of vitamin D once a week for 12 weeks. I think I was at about 9 weeks when I had surgery, and my levels had finally just got back to normal. So I figure if I've already had that problem going in, I'm going to go ahead and add in the vitamin D. And then they've recommended for everybody to add in thiamine or vitamin B1. I couldn't find, I was just at Rite Aid. I had to pick up some other stuff and they were having a sale. I could not find B1 individually, but she had also said that it's found in B complex. So I did get one that has the thiamine and the B complex, and I'm going to add in a vitamin B every day too. They said still take your sublingual B12 every day. They used to recommend, or the other facility recommended 3 times a week, but they say every day, 1,000 micrograms under your tongue. And then they also talked about talking to your doctor if you need additional iron, if you're still menstruating or have had anemia in the past. I did not buy iron today because iron is constipating and I don't like to take it. I have been anemic in the past, but that was a million years ago, and I'm pretty sure it had everything to do with my diet and nothing to do with just being anemic. I had some phases of extremely unhealthy and disordered eating, so I think that's where that anemia came in. I did also pick up some vitamin C just to throw in there. They said it can't hurt. I get sick a lot in the fall traditionally, and I don't want to, so I'll just throw in the vitamin C. And I've heard people say, and I'd be curious for people further up, because I've heard 2 things. I've heard people feel or get sick way more often after they have the weight loss surgery, but maybe only for the first year or so. And then I've heard other people say as soon as they got the surgery, they never were sick. So I am erring on the side of caution. I don't want to get sick. I'm also getting on a plane this week, and I always get sick on the plane. Knock on wood, I didn't the last time. So anyway, that is basically that. That's the new vitamins. They progressed everybody to the final stage of food and basically told us eat your protein first, always, for all these reasons. And now they want us to eat the densest protein possible. So she was like, basically, we just want you to eat steak as much as you can. So that's interesting. People said, oh, but I tried it and it doesn't sit well and blah, blah, blah. And she said that's because, okay, so at this point we should be eating a 1/4 cup of protein and then something else, a fruit or a vegetable, and then a starch like you go if you're still hungry. But she said the problem is people think because they can eat a 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, which is considered a protein, that they serve themselves a 1/2 cup of steak, and that's never going to happen. That you might be able to eat a 1/2 cup of chicken, but you'd only, well, we're not really supposed to be eating a 1/2 cup, but you know, you wouldn't be able necessarily to eat 1/3 of a cup of chicken and 1/3 of a cup of steak. The steak you're probably going to only eat 1/4 of a cup or some, you know, less. So that was interesting. She said people often don't progress themselves because they're afraid it's going to hurt, or they eat it once and it's uncomfortable. And she said that's really not a wise thing to do, because the denser the protein, the longer it takes to break down, the fuller it will help you feel, and that kind of thing. So that's that. I know I'm going to struggle with that. I do kind of pussy out and go back to the softer stuff. But she said that unfortunately what they find is a lot of people who complain about being hungry all the time or later start to see regain are people who never challenge their body to have those denser foods because they were afraid it would hurt, or it hurt one time. She says obviously if you eat the steak and it makes you really sick, you don't eat it again tomorrow, but you wait a week or so and then maybe try it again. So, and then they talked about basically that was it. Reading labels, because there's hidden corn syrup and everything. And one thing she did say that was interesting, because somebody says, well, what about stretching your pouch? And she said you really can't. You can. It stretches a little bit naturally. She said, and all the time she's been doing it, they've only encountered one patient who really did stretch it. And if it was, say, this big, they stretched it just a little bit out on the side. It'll never go back to the size of your stomach that it was because you don't have that stomach anymore. And she did say, because everybody was like, see, you can. And she said that woman, no, like basically abused her sleep from the first day. She never stopped drinking with her meals. She ate a lot of mushy foods throughout the day and didn't follow the program guidelines or whatever. But they said basically she just abused it from day one, and she was 2 years out when it finally, they saw that it had stretched a little. But other than that, she's never seen anybody actually stretch their pouch. They just think that they have because they're choosing the wrong foods. They're choosing foods that are too soft. Like for now, they're kind of telling us try not to eat eggs anymore. And everybody says, well, what do you eat as your protein in the morning then? Because we're not supposed to have yogurt either. And those are two things that I do, yogurt, eggs, cottage cheese. I'm supposed to be moved from those, but that's my breakfast food. And she basically just said, have chicken for breakfast. Just try and eat. The denser the protein, the better it is. So I was going to stop and get some steak on the way home, but I have all these leftovers, so I might start that in a little bit. I'm going out of town this weekend, on Thursday, and so I'm thinking maybe I don't want to push my sleeve too much until I get back. So anyway, that's it. I don't really have a lot of other stuff to talk about. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you next week. Okay, bye.